Even though most of the academia's restrictions have significantly relaxed, I'm still a bit worried that the Matra might give her trouble. I need to stay here to keep an eye on the situation. Kale, can you head to Sumeru City and find out why she isn't here yet?
Does it have to be me?
I'd only assign a job this important to someone I trust. Are you not feeling well?
Oh no, I'm fine. I've completely recovered. It's just that if I'm going to see her, I think I need to mentally prepare myself first.
I know. You'll have a tough time if you go by yourself. If we could arrange for someone to accompany you.
Oh, hey there!
It's been a while. What a coincidence. I was just thinking about asking you to accompany Kale to Sumeru City. Sorry, that's not what I meant. It's just that this matter concerns research banned by the academia. Not the sort of thing you'd shout from the rooftops. Also, you happen to know about this situation. There are very few people I can trust to be discreet right now. After giving it much thought, I believe you're the most suitable person for this task. It's complicated, and this isn't the best place to talk about it. We'll fill you in on the details once she arrives. You might have heard about her in Sumeru before. Her name is Farazan, and she's a very experienced senior researcher. Let's just say that a huge part of Kasharawar's mechanical research over the past 100 years has used her academic discourse and manuscripts as their foundation. She is, but she vanished for 100 years because of a certain incident. She only returned to the academia after being found in the wilderness a few years ago. Because of that, her current personality can be a bit, strange, as is her attitude towards Kale.
I'm getting a headache just thinking about it.
She doesn't have bad intentions, so you don't have to be scared.
I'll try.
Yes. Kasharawar and Spontamod researchers are often quite prejudiced, so I can't trust them with this matter. However, Farazan isn't influenced by modern thinking. In our previous correspondence through letters, she indicated that she'd be willing to help. It's already past our arranged meeting time, but she still hasn't shown up. I don't think so. With her personality, it's more likely that she got wrapped up in some sort of trouble. Anyway, can you go with Kale to the academia and check on Farazan for me?
Thank goodness. I was so anxious.
I'm counting on you two. Kale, don't push yourself too hard. Just go there and see what's going on. Our task is important, but not that urgent. If Farazan really is in some trouble, come back and tell me about it. We can always reschedule our meeting. After all, if she's distracted by other things, it'll affect her ability to help us.
All right, let's go!
Oh yes, and one more thing. You might find her difficult to get along with at first. However, if you address her as Madam, she'll become much easier to talk to.
Sorry, what did you say? Oh, could you repeat yourself? As you know, I'm sure, hearing goes with age.
Farazan, I said that you need to give us an answer.
Yes. And did you forget to add Madam when you addressed me earlier?
Your hearing is perfectly fine. Madam Farazan, we don't want to make things difficult for you. However, you haven't been teaching courses or supervising theses these past few years. Isn't this rather problematic as an advisor? Never mind the students. Even other advisors are starting to complain.
And who, if I may ask, complained?
If they have any issue with me, tell them to talk to me themselves rather than waste any of your time. You don't have to tell me anything. I very well know that it's those people from Haravatat. How I wish they'd put their time into doing proper research instead.
But, Madam Farzan, it has been a long while since you last made any practical academic contribution yourself.
Academic contribution cannot simply be divided between the tangible and the intangible. The issue here, I believe, is that the reviewer doesn't understand the very nature of knowledge itself. In any case, it makes no sense to use a metric like this to evaluate a mentor. Which sage set this rule anyway? I should write a letter of complaint right this instant.
Wait! Madam Farzan, please let me finish.
That's her, all right. But the person with her doesn't look like a Matra. Shh! She hates it when people call her young! Her body apparently stopped aging during the year she was gone. So that's why she looks the same as she did 100 years ago. Okay, I think I'm ready for this. Let's go!
Anyway, Akara Crafts and the leader of Ksharawar would like to invite you to collaborate on this project. They're wondering if you'd be interested. Madam Farzan? Are you listening?
Mm-hmm. Ah, Kale! Why are you here at the Academia? Are you feeling better now?
I'm much better, Madam Farzan. It's all thanks to the Traveler and the Dendro Archon.
Have you been sleeping well? You seem to be developing some eye bags. Is that brat Tainari forcing you to stay up late again?
No, it's because I'm a slow learner. It's not Master's fault.
It's good to be hardworking, but you need to take care of your health. I'll have to give Tainari a right talking to when I see him. I'll also prepare some health supplements for you.
There's really no need.
Ah, and is the person beside you the legendary Traveler? Oh, I've heard much about you before. In fact, I've been meaning to meet you for a while now. It is thanks to you, after all, that the Academia is finally getting back on its feet. Even Kali's illness is...
Ahem. Madam Farzan, I believe we were still discussing the collaboration with Akara Crafts.
I'd wager it's those Ksharawar dunderheads finding excuses so that I'd go to their darshan. Say no more. I have no plans to change my field of research.
If you're this unwilling to participate in the collaborative project, you can also consider teaching a class. It might be difficult to teach a course with topics that only fall within Haravatat's subjects, but we can't delay this anymore. You need to give an answer. You can teach a course or participate in a collaborative project. If you don't do either, it'll be hard for me to persuade the advisors and students who have been complaining.
Could you not give me a few more days to consider? This matter has been delayed for so long already.
That's precisely the issue. If you don't give an answer today, I fear that someone will soon escalate their complaints to the sages.
What a waste of free time these folks are. Now you two are here at Tainari's behest, I take it. I'm sorry, but given the current situation, it looks like I'll have to come over some other day. Of course. I shall need some time to think as well.
What now? She seems so busy. Master said there's no rush, but I know that he's been busy working on something at Paradise DI, so he hasn't returned to Gandharvaville for several days now. I feel for Madame Farzan, but I still want to ask her to come with us. But if I get her in trouble with the Academia, then she won't have the time to help Master. What should I do? Oh, this is such a headache. Yeah, that would be the best for them both. I'll check with Master later and see if there's anything I can help him with. But I'm sure he'll say, The best thing you can do now is study hard, so I don't have to give you remedial lessons. Huh? Oh yes! This way she can get her problem sorted out quickly, and then she can go see Master. So if I also stay and help... that still sounds kinda scary. Okay then. I'm counting on you.
Huh. I have to teach students from Haravatat or owe Ksharawar a favor. It strikes me that they might be even less happy about such a deal than I am.
I think I can sympathize with them.
We're back, Madame Farazan. The Traveler said that she can stay and help you.
Oh, why I couldn't ask for more. In fact, I'm rather curious about the type of person the Traveler is. You were the one who taught Azar a lesson after all. That said, will I be troubling you? Is that so? Good. It does so happen that I do have something I need help with. Now, should I apply to teach a course with Haravatat, or join the collaborative project that Ksharawar is proposing? Honestly, I don't want to choose either of them.
You might have heard of it before. Haravatat is an academic faction that researches languages and runes. 100 years ago, Madame Farazan was a researcher from that darshan.
Now, not was. Still am.
Yes, of course. But current Haravatat students can't really... understand her direction of research. So even if she opened a course, chances are that no one would attend.
In summary, I mean to interpret the configurations and solutions of ruin mechanisms via the deciphering of on-site stone carvings and unearthed documents. It'll include research into general documents dealing with such ancient machines.
The research method is supported by Haravatat, yes, but the content deals heavily with both ruins and mechanisms. This will make it difficult for students of this darshan because they don't understand much about mechanisms. Also, there are fewer and fewer unexplored ruins left nowadays, and Ksharawar researchers have been developing their own theories on mechanisms. As such, they don't need to rely on ancient documents.
They're far too complacent. Ancient mechanisms are more dangerous and complex than one might imagine. I'm telling you, things weren't like this 100 years ago. All researchers back then were interested in exploring knowledge from a variety of topics. They also gave more respect to unknown mechanisms. Nowadays, all people are interested in are mainstream subjects in popular research. Even if they attended my course, I wouldn't be interested in teaching them. Also, the people here think that my research is outdated and unrealistic, so they keep cutting my funding. Why, I think they could all stand to learn from Kale. She's a hard-working child and respects her elders.
Huh? Why me?
If only those who came to my lectures were more like you. Speaking of which, are you feeling better? You don't have to confine yourself to Gandharvaville anymore, right?
I just remembered that I have a lot of studying to do. I need to head back and find Master.
Are you telling me to start a reading course for Kale?
Huh?
Wait. Although Tainari has academic dealings with the academia, he isn't considered part of it. This means that Kale isn't technically a student.
No, she's right. The old academia became consumed by their arrogance precisely because they ignored the public. There must surely be many people like Kale and Sumeru who are passionate about learning but cannot study due to various reasons. The old academia paid no heed to them. But if I start a reading course for Kale as a pilot, perhaps this shall come to benefit many more people in the future.
I'll need to go back and ask if this is in accordance with regulations.
Oh, save yourself the extra trouble. I'll come with you. If there's any arguments to be had, we shall sweep them aside together. Traveler, Kale, do wait for us a little while outside the academia. I'll be back in just a moment.
Wait! Let's catch up with her. I can't believe she rushed right in after we arrived. She's really headstrong. Oh, how did things turn out like this? No, not really. Madame Farazan is a brilliant scholar. Even Master thinks so. If she's really going to teach me how to read, it'll definitely be much better than me bashing my head against the wall. It's just that she can get a bit too passionate sometimes. I don't know how to handle that. Maybe it's because she wants to take me in as a student? It's just like that researcher said. The academia has completely changed during the 100 years that Farazan was gone. I don't really get it. But it does seem like Haravitat's students aren't optimistic about the prospects of doing research with her. Students who are interested in mechanisms and applications of the elements generally enroll in Kasharawar and Spotamod. Madame Farazan also refuses to accept random students just to make up numbers. She still hasn't found a student she likes, even after all this time back. But she seems to like my attitude toward learning, so she often asks me if I'm willing to become her student. It's because I'm a slow learner that I have no choice but to stay up late and study. Whenever she compliments me, I feel really guilty. It's not that. Madame Farazan respects my choices. She hasn't been trying to persuade me, especially since she knows I need to rest and recuperate. She sometimes brings food to Gandharvaville for me, and each time she says that Master can't find out. Now that you mention it, it does feel a bit like that. Do I really look that young?
Kale, Traveler, thank you for waiting. The issue has been resolved. I argued with the higher-ups and convinced them of the practicality and necessity of educating the general public. If I'm not mistaken, they're the students of my classmates' students. They're a lot less forceful than their predecessors, though. I'd say they caved rather quickly.
Amazing.
It's just that we need to fill in every single page of the application. It's been a century, but the academia is as picky as ever. Let's see now. What do we need to fill in? Course name, learning objectives, teaching methods, course materials. I suppose we can fill in the course name last. That's a bit too general, I'd say. After all, this class's target audience isn't toddlers or children, but rather people who already know the basics of reading. As such, we'll need a more specific learning objective. How about proficiency in reading and writing?
That's true. If we use children's teaching materials, we'll only end up wasting a lot of time on things that students would already know.
And you have your job as a forest ranger, Kale. People who attend this course in the future are also likely to have life commitments. We need more effective teaching methods.
Master always tells me that practice is the best way to learn. That's why I often ask him to help me find simple books to read.
It must have been difficult to get books in Sumeru in recent years, no? Tainari really went the extra mile for you. Expanding literacy is a capital notion. Now that the academia is easing restrictions on the circulation of books, there should be more people who have become interested in reading. It's a great time to conduct this course. So that's next on the list. I fear that I'm at a loss as to which books youngsters like nowadays. Would The Legend of Antara be too old of a story? Fair. Kale, what have you been reading lately?
Me? I've been reading light novels from Inazuma. I heard that ever since we were allowed to sell books in Sumeru again, some people set up stalls at Treasure Street to sell light novels. I've been meaning to go there and check it out.
Light novels? This is my first time hearing about such a thing, but I doubt I will procure suitable teaching materials from the House of Dana. Treasure Street it is.
Wait for us, Madame Farazan! You wouldn't think someone as fast as her is over 100. Let's pick up the pace and catch up to her!
What a long and mildly ungrammatical title. And why is the cover so colorful?
Is this your first time seeing a light novel, ma'am? Oh, they're the most popular of books nowadays. Would you like me to recommend something?
Fine. One shouldn't judge a book by its cover after all. May we browse through the books here?
Of course. Why don't you try this one? It's Outlander Brigade, When the Wind of Death Blew Towards the Blonde Samurai.
I heard that this book's author describes action in vivid detail.
Now I've only skimmed through a few pages, but it feels like it's all fight scenes. There are only subjects and predicates, and the syntax is a tad simple.
Subjects? Predicates?
The protagonist just ends up fighting in every scene with no proper build-up. Will anyone even enjoy a story that's only comprised of fights?
How about... the good thing about being reincarnated as a hilly churl is that I only need to eat Sunsetias to become stronger.
A reincarnation isekai story? Those are pretty popular right now.
Isekai? What in the world is that? Also, why does it become stronger by eating Sunsetias? Tropes? Those fictional rules used to push the plot forward, yes? They're definitely effective in achieving a distancing effect.
Sorry. What is this distancing effect?
However, this book doesn't explain how reincarnation correlates to becoming stronger. Such an illogical rule will affect the coherence of the story. Will readers really accept this?
How about this? I had to fight tooth and nail to get this in stock.
Oh, that's the latest volume of Onibudo!
Now that's a rather normal title length. Oh, Kale, do you like this series?
Yes, but I don't like it that much. Madam, are you going to use this series as teaching material?
Let me see. The dialogue flows quite well, but there are too many phrases here that I don't recognize. Third eye of perception, illusory mirror, and so on. Are these terms that are tied to tropes?
I also thought those names were strange when I was reading them.
It's impossible to derive the meaning of these phrases in isolation. Also, their morphological properties are quite pedestrian, really. Or did the protagonist purposely create these strange names to disorient their foes? So there's no deeper purpose. It's quite hard to understand stories written these days.
You're right. It's such a weird book. But you keep wanting to read the next page.
Even the most popular book in Sumeru back then had greater depth than anything written today. Yes, a Bahumano researcher wrote it while researching folk legends. The plot had many twists. The world building was fantastic, and even the writing could withstand scrutiny. When it was still being published, many people in the academia were reading it. Even the sages back then all described the story as a timeless classic. The series must have concluded after so many years, right? Perhaps it's even more popular now.
Is there a book like that in Sumeru? I've never heard of such a thing before. What's the title?
It's called Tales of Shariar. Do you sell it here?
Tales of Shariar? I don't think I've heard of that before. When was it published?
About 100 years ago.
100 years ago? Are you pulling my leg? What sort of book can remain popular for 100 years?
The Legend of Antara is popular to this very day, isn't it? I just heard someone telling it a few days ago in a cafe. If an old story like that is still being shared, then Tales of Shariar must be even more popular.
Even if that is the case, I really don't carry that book here in my store.
What? Is that because of the Academia's strict control over books in recent years? I can't believe they've allowed the people of Sumeru to become so uncivilized. How can they not know about the Tales of Shariar?
Tales of Shariar? Oh, wait! I think I heard an antique seller on the other end of Treasure Street mention that name before. I mean, it is a book from 100 years ago. Why don't you try asking for it there?
Tales of Shariar is considered an antique now? How could the Academia have let such an excellent work of literature be forgotten like this? Traveler, Kale, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Let's meet at the antique sellers.
Madam, wait! Oh no, this is bad. You asked me why I'm scared of Madame Farazan, right? It's not because I don't know how to respond to her kindness. It's because I'm afraid of that ancient language she researches, because I can barely understand any of it. What if she uses ancient texts as teaching material? Even so, what if researchers from 100 years ago like to use ancient languages in their books? We've got to catch up to her!
Found it! The 5th volume of Tales of Shariar!
Wow, you actually found it!
I never thought this book would ever get sold.
All right, that's our teaching material secured. We also now know what to call this course. Analysis of Classical Texts. After all, this book is definitely worthy of being called a classic.
Can I take a look? Luckily the language being used here isn't ancient at all. I can recognize a few words here and there. Huh? But why aren't there pictures in this book?
As long as the writing is good, readers won't need any illustrations to imagine the scenes. Worry not, I shall thoroughly explain the difficult sections. You'll like this book, I know it. After all this time, I wonder if Aaliyah and Aziz ended up together. And who obtained the desert gem in the end? Sir, do you have the subsequent volumes of this series?
I don't think so.
Is that so? And here I thought I could finally read the ending. Never mind, I'll keep searching for the later volumes myself. If I'm to use it as a teaching material, it's better to start earlier in the series. Where are the first 4 volumes? Why aren't they all together?
I don't have those either. Actually, this is the only volume I have.
Is this series really that popular?
No. It's not popular at all. Rather, there's absolutely no demand for it.
No demand? Impossible! Back then, I'd come across at least 3 groups of people talking about it during a single stroll at the Academia.
Seriously? No one told me that this book was anything special when I first got it.
Where did you get this from? Can you still contact the seller?
I'm afraid not. This book was sold together with a whole bunch of antique furniture. I didn't even notice it initially. Otherwise, the Matra would have come knocking. Wait, is this book actually worth a lot? It can't be, right?
That's impossible. No matter how strict the Academia was, there's no way Tales of Shariar could have fallen into such a state.
I do remember a passerby skimming through the book a few days ago. However, he simply sighed and left.
He sighed? Why would he react like that? Given the quality of Tales of Shariar, he should have been entranced after a single glance. I'm sorry. Traveler, Kale, please give me a moment. I'd like to look through this book first. Why is there another misunderstanding between Aaliyah and Aziz? Also, why is there no mention of the desert gem at all? And a new character is introduced with no foreshadowing at all? Also, what are all these new names and terms? Is this really the Tales of Shahryar I know?
Well, that passerby reacted in much the same way. It's Mada from the cafe over there. You know, the fellow who spends all day telling the legend of Antara. Since that's also a very old story, maybe he knows a thing or two about that, Tales of, whatever it's called.
Then let's go ask around at the cafe. Huh? Madame Farazan?
Huh? Oh, yes. Let's go.
Another day, another empty room.
Excuse me? But are you Mada?
Yes! Are you here to listen to my story?
Well, we actually came to ask about something else.
I see.
Sorry.
It's fine. I'm used to it, more or less. So, how can this terribly unpopular storyteller help you?
Do you know about Tales of Shahryar?
Huh? Tales of Shahryar? Why, I can barely remember the last time anyone talked about it. My master always talked about how incredibly popular that book used to be. However, I tried reciting a few chapters of it at the cafe, and I found that it's even less popular than the Legend of Antara.
Your master?
Yes, the one who taught me how to be a storyteller. He said that Tales of Shahryar was written by his master's master's master. He also said that this great-great-grandmaster was an academia researcher, and that even the sages liked the series. He wrote 4 volumes back then, and the reviews just got better and better. You couldn't find a single person in Sumeru who hadn't read his books.
And then? What happened next? Why doesn't anyone know about Tales of Shahryar now?
Oh, it's hard to tell when it comes to trends. One day everyone likes stories like that, and the next day their tastes change completely. Instead of writing a proper ending, this great-great-grandmaster kept trying to extend the story. To tap into popular trends, he added a lot of tropes. Then, starting from the 5th volume, the reviews started to go downhill.
How could that be? Then what happened to Tales of Shahryar in the end?
In the end, there's no ending. The great-great-grandmaster tried to write a few more volumes, following whatever trends were popular at the time, but the trends kept changing right as he published his books. He got so infuriated that he stopped writing altogether and focused on his research instead.
What? So there's no ending? The readers didn't care?
By that time, only a very small number of people were reading Tales of Shahryar. Anyway, my master probably exaggerated. How could a work possibly have been that popular? The only tangible thing my great-great-grandmaster left is the original draft of Legend of Antara. He also left behind many theses from his research phase. When my master talked about Legend of Antara, he'd even quote from those theses. My master is a much better storyteller than me. Even when we're telling the same story about Antara, he's always able to draw in a huge crowd. But even he won't recite Tales of Shahryar due to its ever-changing writing style and its lack of an ending.
So, Antara's story is the one that lasted through the years.
Well, not even sages can definitively ascertain the quality of something like a story. In the end, only time can separate the classics from the fads.
Only time?
Madame Farazan?
It's been 100 years. Perhaps some things I once believed to be great aren't so after all.
Master helped me find a lot of famous books at first, but in the end, I realized that I couldn't get into them. No matter how good those stories are, I can't improve my skills if I can't bring myself to read them in the first place. I think the best books for me are the ones I like.
Huh. Indeed. That is true. Readers' interests and trends of a time are not things that are so easily predicted. What was popular 100 years ago could be completely forgotten in modern times. And yet, 100 years, as far as history is concerned, is but a blink of an eye. If Tales of Shariar hadn't chased after trends and instead stuck to its original style from start to finish, it might have stood some chance of gaining renewed popularity. No, even if that didn't happen, at least it would be a work that was true to itself.
Huh? Our conversation just got a lot more serious.
I don't really get what you're talking about, but it does sound sensible. Looks like I also have to hang in there and tell Antara's story well.
How unseemly. I almost got carried away because of a single book. Well then, we should get back to the matter of our teaching material. It looks like we can't use Tales of Shariar now. No, it's much too old.
Oh.
Kale, you found a book that you liked at the bookstall, yes?
Yes, but I don't really...
Then we'll use that book as our teaching material. Now that I think about it, using a book that you like is the most suitable choice for teaching you how to read. As for the academia, as long as we come up with an appropriate course name, we should be able to get away with this. My, it sounds like you've dealt with the academia before. Let's go with that. Now then, let's return to the book vendor in a bit and buy the latest volume of this Onibudo for Kale. Ah, but if I wish to use it as teaching material, I have to read it first.
Huh?
Speaking of which, other than third eye of perception and illusory mirror, I also espy some unfamiliar phrases from the reader's messages at the back of the book. Such things as, even if it reminds me of my dark history, I still can't help but be drawn in by the story. And the author has written all the things that I only dare whisper into a tree hollow. Why do people use dark history to refer to awkward or embarrassing memories? Is this some slang that was invented in the last century? If one of our learning objectives was researching linguistic changes over the past 100 years, it might make it easier to get these books approved as teaching material.
Oh, I can tell you what that's all about. Apparently, in their youth, some people used to imagine themselves as someone burdened by fate, fighting against the world, etc. But as they grew older, they started to become embarrassed by such memories. Some would write those fantasies into novels, while others would entrust such tales to tree hollows.
Mata? You know, I suddenly have the urge to hear a story about Antara.
Huh? Why so suddenly?
I knew it. There will always be people who love the golden oldies. Now, let me tell you all about the ancient hero, Antara.